So a man goes to the doctor to get the results of some medical tests, and the doctor has the letter there ready for him. "You'd better take a seat," he says. "I've got bad news, and I've got even worse news. The bad news is the results of your tests tell me that you only have 2 weeks left to live." Well, the man is in shock, but he's alert enough to ask the obvious question: if that's the bad news, what could possibly be worse? The doctor looks again at the letter and says, "I'm afraid your results were posted 8 days ago." It's an old joke, of course, but if we knew that the days on the earth were limited for us, we would probably use our time rather differently than we generally do. I was the chaplain in a hospice in Scotland before I came to Geneva, and spent time with people who knew that they were coming towards the end of their days. And people would think that must be a very depressing job to do, but actually it's not, because people who know that their days are very limited really want to make the most of those days and not to waste them on small talk or idleness or complaining or whatever. And there were people for whom the opportunity just to stand and get to the window to look at the roses outside made the whole day so special. And I would go home to my normal life and reflect on why the days were not so special for me. Knowing that our days are limited makes us focus very much on what we're doing with those days. And often, sadly, it does take some kind of shock to make us aware of that. Perhaps a bereavement, or indeed something more positive, falling in love, being around at the birth of a child, something which makes us realize that the things we normally give all our time and attention to really are not the most important things in life. Now, I say all of this because this, I think, is the essence of the Bible text we were preaching on. I was preaching on in the church this morning, again from 1 Corinthians, where Paul is writing to the believers, urging them to waken up, telling them, reminding them the days are limited, so do not allow your lives to be dictated or defined by all the sort of small daily things that we so often think are all important, that feel all important. But the positive side of Paul's message is he's saying, don't do that because you're afraid of dying or because something terrible's happened. No, let the thing that shakes you into awakenness be your faith in the resurrection of Christ. That's happened. If that's true, if that kind of love really is the most powerful thing in the universe, that even death itself cannot deny it, then we can't just go on living our lives knowing that to be true and acting as though it were not true, acting as though we just have endless days to waste on negativity and fighting and putting other people down. No, the number of our days is limited. And therefore, in the light of Christ's resurrection, we really ought to be making the most of every moment, which is so precious and so vital. So while the message from Paul on the outside might look like a rather dreary one, the number of your days is limited. In fact, he's writing that for the most positive of reasons. Let's stop wasting time. Let's stop wasting time with things that are temporary and really get to grips with that which is eternal. Let's make the most of every moment of every day, not because something's gone wrong, but because Christ is risen, and the world cannot anymore be dominated by the ordinary and the mundane.